Far right this, far right that, far right, far right, far right. You see everything being labeled as far right nowadays. But what actually is the far right? Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be using far right, alt-right, Nazi, neo-Nazi, fascist, conservative, neocon, Republican, racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, Islamophobic, etc., all as meaning the same thing. Not because they are the same thing, they are certainly not, but rather because progressives use them to mean the same thing. These are all actually very different things, but a large swath of the left considers all of these terms to be interchangeable. And maybe I'm just an old man, but that's rather ridiculous to see, even now, because it was once known to be one of the common rules of the internet, that if you have to appeal to Hitler or Nazis, you automatically lost the argument. The main reason being the Nazis are a joke. Not because they weren't dangerous or evil in their day, they certainly were, but because they've been largely gone since 1945. So, during those early days of the internet, generally you'd call somebody a Nazi if you were joking, or alternatively if you wanted to impugn them in an over-the-top way. Very rarely did anybody use the term Nazi to refer to people whom they thought actually believed in Nazi ideology. And whenever we met people who still actually believed in Nazi ideology, they were always laughed out of the room. But now everyone's a Nazi. Everything is far right. It's become ridiculous. Here's a great example. These are the words of Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London. It's un-British to roll out the red carpet for Donald Trump. The US president gives comfort to the far right. The prime minister should speak truth to power. So what do you expect? Do you expect the UK to snub the leader of their greatest ally for woke points? Like, what the fuck are you talking about here? And of course, he's talking about the very fine people on both sides comment that Trump gave during Charlottesville, which, as far as I can tell, was still the truth. Yes, there were bad actors at Charlottesville. There were absolutely real white supremacists at Charlottesville, but most people on the right were not that. You've got people like Nigel Farage being called fringe right-wing lunatics. And Nigel Farage is certainly on the right, but is he fringe? Is it fringe when the UK voted for Brexit? That's not a fringe belief, it seems to be quite normal. You've got Facebook banning Alex Jones, Milo Yiannopoulos, Louis Farrakhan, and other right-wing personalities. Hold the fuck on, because Louis Farrakhan isn't right-wing. He's on the left. The Tory membership is far-right, racist, and would cleanse Britain of minorities if they had the chance. Jesus Christ, dude. Do you actually think it's conservative soccer moms who want to go out there and build the next Auschwitz or something? White nationalists are now using clowns to spread hatred. Are clowns right-wing now? Are clowns fascist? The Cubs are investigating a fan's offensive hand gesture. Which one is that? I'm sure you already know. Look at this hatred. Look at this evil, vile, right-wing white supremacist as he makes that O shape with his finger and thumb. It summons up all of his white energy, which begins to charge in the empty space in the middle. Moments after this was taken, that poor black victim was blasted with direct, unfiltered white supremacy. Apparently, Meghan Murphy is going to be in an event with a number of alt-right figures such as Andy No, Sargon of Akkad, Claire Lehman, Tim Pool, Count Dankula, Lauren Chen. These individuals all have completely different ideologies. You cannot simply lump them all together as alt-right. There's a debate on Twitch right now featuring two big-time alt-righters, Sargon and Nick Fuentes. This is from 2019, and funnily enough, people now call Destiny, who was on the left-wing side of that debate, alt-right. The collusion between the military-industrial complex and video games industry is corruption. Gamergate, if it had any legitimacy, should have been slamming it. Sadly and predictably, Gamergate elevates the right wing and Trump while supporting harassment. And being one of the biggest supporters of Gamergate, Carl Benjamin, aka Sargon of Akkad, is dead silent given he's a right-wing hack, xenophobic nationalist, and Trump supporter who loves joyless first-person shooters. Now hold on. There's quite a lot of joy to be had in a good first-person shooter. Things the right-wing gamer and anime audience is okay with. Not safe for work content that endangers or violates women, children, and the LGBT community. Things the right-wing gamer and anime audience isn't okay with. Safe for work content that empowers or supports women, children, and the LGBT community. The fuck does this even mean? Like, are you complaining that there's boobs in video games? Are you complaining that porn exists, that hentai exists on the internet? If I see an anime girl get fucked in a video, how does that violate women? I guess enjoying porn or liking titties is right-wing now. This is regarding the cancelling of Ricky Gervais back in 2020. The idea that celebrities are not only pampered babies, but hypocrites who cause the problems they make speeches deploring and should therefore shut up and act or sing or be grateful is a right-wing talking point. Okay, so if you don't like celebrities, if you think they're out of touch, it's right-wing. It's a right-wing talking point. The far right are uniting around their right to free speech, aka spreading a load of racist bullshit. Free speech is far right. The Gilroy shooter was a far-right supremacist. CNN recklessly speculates the Dayton shooter may have been politically motivated. The shooter's tweets or politics have zero relevancy so far because he killed indiscriminately. Yeah, that guy was a left-winger. Inside the mind of Ben Shapiro, the alt-right sage without the rage. Ben is just a regular conservative. You're not going to find much white supremacy in the Jewish man. Race science guru Sam Harris. That's quite the title. Just deleted his Patreon. Earlier today, Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson claim they're also leaving the platform and are in talks with investors about building a Patreon for free speech lovers, aka a white nationalist crowdfunding platform. Free speech lovers are white nationalists now. Using a Patreon alternative as white nationalists. Fucking incredible. Racist and white supremacist ideas have become more visible among the Chinese-Canadian right. You know, if they're Chinese, they can't be white supremacists. You know that, right? I mean, they can be Chinese supremacists. I guess they can be white supremacists if they're idiots and they actually believe in the inferiority of their own race. White supremacy's gateway to the American mind. Amazon's self-publishing arm gives extremists and neo-Nazis banned from other platforms unprecedented access to a mass audience. If you self-publish on Amazon, you are a white supremacist neo-Nazi extremist. Far-right extremists use GameStop chaos to radicalize and recruit on Telegram. If you buy GameStop stocks, you're far-right, guys. There is a serious problem where Nazis are indoctrinating the hell out of an entire generation of children through things like Minecraft videos on YouTube. If we don't do something about it, we'll have a bunch of fascist teens in a few years. Turns out that when a whole generation of parents completely abdicate their basic moral duties and let their children watch PewDiePie instead of Big Bird, they grow up thinking it's their duty to send death threats to queer people and anyone making wholesome art and entertainment. This literally just sounds like you being an angry, aging Karen, not understanding that you're no longer young and cool, and the kids are doing something else nowadays. But no, I guess if you like PewDiePie, you're a Nazi. By subscribing to PewDiePie, you're supporting somebody who has repeatedly given exposure to a crypto-fascist and Nazi propagandist. This is in reference to Ben Shapiro once hosting Meme Review on PewDiePie's channel. Jonathan Pye taking selfies with UKIP and Tommy Robinson supporters. They treat him like a hero. If you like Jonathan Pye, I guess you're part of the far right. I'm going to give you a bunch of headlines real quick. Which ones are the fake ones? Some Trump supporters are co-opting the American flag. Nazis once did that too. Inside the alt-right's bizarre obsession with hydration. Although research debunks white supremacists' claims about the benefits of hydration, like the myth that it improves your complexion, water drinking has been a staple trope of American racists since the days of segregated drinking fountains. The extreme right has a new hobby and it's terrifying. Hate groups are getting into books and are even encouraging others to read too. Laughter, the new symbol of the far right. Dear men, stop working out. Physical fitness creates a cycle of toxic masculinity that must be eradicated. It's kind of hard to tell, isn't it? The fake ones were the water one and the reading one. The rest of them were all real. Remember, opposing abortion makes you proponent, unwilling or not, of the far right. Patriarchal control of women's autonomy, the degradation of bodily autonomy, pseudoscientific ideas about life. I don't know about that one. Erasure of LGBTQ people via cisnormative gender ideas and pregnancy. You know, if you're LGBTQ, you're probably not really that at risk of getting pregnant, I would guess. There's no compromise or leeway. If you're gonna go around bad-mouthing abortion, spreading blatantly false and incorrect information, actively campaign for the removal of human rights, you are contributing to fascism. It's just in general worth remembering that if fascists control the terms of debate, they would shoot you. If they debate you, it's because they think this is helpful in getting to a point where they can shoot you. So if you like debate, if you want to debate something, you're a fascist. On thinner bodies, the strawberry TikTok dress skews a tiny bit fascist. So if you're not a complete fat shit and you wear a trad dress, you're a fascist. A fascist exercise today, did you? Fuck no, because regimented exercise is actually fundamentally fascist itself. Do you lift weights? Do you jog? Do you do yoga? Do you do any of that shit? Do you take care of yourself? Or do you live a healthy life? You're a fascist. When somebody accuses me for being a transphobic, racist, and a sexist for liking and being an Asian trap, using footage of a white nationalist to prove you're not racist, sexist, or transphobic. John's Persian. He's not white. He's from the Middle East. 88 and HH phrases like honk honk. They're fascist. They mean Heil Hitler. H is the 8th letter of the alphabet, thus 88. Honk honk is associated with the honkler and is often used ironically by alt-right trolls. Socialists on social media are a perpetual motion machine of clown world takes about clown world. Guys, we're like 50 layers of honk deep right now. Oh hey Lilith, you're in here too. 2016, punch Nazis. 2019, punch people who like PewDiePie. Today marks the European Day of Remembrance for victims of Stalinism and Nazism. Victims of Stalinism? You mean Nazi war criminals? You want us to remember Nazi war criminals along with Nazi victims? So if you were killed by Stalin, if you were put in the gulags, if you were killed by the socialist authoritarian regimes of the 20th century, you're a Nazi. TikTok, which is mega popular with children and teens, has a problem with blatant, violent white supremacy and Nazism. If you use TikTok, you're a Nazi. We'll introduce you to a trad wife, a young woman who has chosen to be a traditional wife, staying at home to take care of household chores while her husband works, and she is fine with submitting to her husband as he makes the key decisions in their lives. Who needs YouTube rabbit holes when you have the BBC broadcasting literal white supremacist propaganda? So if you're a woman who wants to live in a more traditional manner, if you want to stay at home and take care of the house and take care of the kids, you're a white supremacist. Even though lots of non-white women do this, I guess it doesn't matter. Driving a car? You are a Nazi. Vroom vroom. My Little Pony fans are ready to admit they have a Nazi problem. What's going on? Are they rounding up all the Earth ponies and putting them in camps or something? The claim. Trump's campaign shirts feature the Imperial Eagle, a Nazi symbol, are ruling true. Are you fucking kidding me? Eagles! The national bird of the United States is a Nazi bird now. Is the Snyder Cut fascist? That's the discourse of the day, which is hilariously the wrong question. The right question is, what fucking superhero movie isn't? If you like cape shit, you're a fascist. Balconies and fascists. Fascists and balconies. Because Mussolini stood on a balcony, and Trump also stood on a balcony, that's what makes him a fascist. If you got a picture of you out there standing on a balcony, you're a fascist. Guess I'm never going on my balcony again, fuck. I'm thinking about fascist American mass culture in video games in the mid-2000s. There's so much shit to talk about and re-examine. American devs had a larger market share than ever before, and the 8th generation's technical power led to the pinnacle of fascist mass culture, Call of Duty. Violent video games didn't make kids shoot up American schools, but it did turn them into little fascist foot soldiers for the US empire so they could shoot up Iraqi schools. Call of Duty fascist, Gears of War fascist, Halo fascist, Left 4 Dead fascist. Making a game about being a soldier and an enjoyable experience is a fascist endeavor. Sorry to ruin your fun. So we've actually gone from Anita Sarkeesian levels of video games cause sexism to whatever the fuck this is, video games cause fascism. Thinking no one should ever be bombed is an inherently pro-fascist position. Alright, so even though fascists were notorious for wanting to expand, wanting living space. Spazio vitale, the Italians called it. If you're anti-war, you're fascist. The real fascists are the non-interventionists, guys. The roots of organic farming lie in fascism. Oh no, you can't even be down to earth anymore. You can't even eat the bugs and eat the soy meat and live in the pod without being a fascist. Reminder, fascists use mocking humor to test and normalize ideas. If you laugh, you're a fascist. You don't get to be a centrist. You don't get the comfort of taking a higher ground than the alt-right or right-wing or Nazi groups. If you're a centrist, you're a fascist. Astrology is a gateway to fascism. All such mysticism that seeks to explain human behavior as inborn and predetermined, rather than as a result of material conditions, is fascist. It is not misogyny to point this out. Man, there's so much wrapped up in this. If you like astrology, you're a fascist. If you believe in anything spiritual, you're a fascist. If you believe that humans have a nature, you're a fascist. Hallmark movies are fascist propaganda. Forget Triumph of the Will. The most insidious authoritarian propaganda comes in the form of schmaltz. So those really shitty, really boring Christmas movies where people they have good lives and they're happy, that's fascism. Can't enjoy anything. If you enjoy it, it's fascist. Oh god, this time everybody's a fascist. Matthew Wright accuses guest of sharing neo-Nazi ideas as they clash over vaccine passports. One side says, the idea that you are still talking about herd immunity, which does not exist without vaccinations, you are talking about essentially neo-Nazi ideas. Letting the weak die, only the strong will survive. It's an absolute outrage. The other side says, don't compare me to Nazis when we're being told we have to show our papers before going to a restaurant. If you get a vaccine, it's fascist. If you don't get a vaccine, it's fascist. There is a huge problem with fascism amongst white trans women. You know how hard it was to find a trans Discord that wasn't filled with trans women who posted Nazi imagery? Don't be trans, guys, or else you'll be a fash. While many vets are being outed as far-right extremists, one branch keeps popping up when it comes to neo-Nazis, the United States Marine Corps. So the ones who fought the fascists are the fascists. Alright. Swag, Sigma, Troll, Stay Mad. Y'all are welcoming fascist terms into our spaces, making me feel unsafe, even among friends, and I deeply resent it. Do you use modern lingo? You might be a fascist. U.S. flags used in fascist rallies around the world. Hong Kong, Venezuela, Cuba, Croatia, Japan, Poland, Germany, Belarus, Ukraine, Nicaragua, Taiwan, Tibet. So all of these seem to be revolts against socialist or socialist-leaning governments. And they're all using the American flag, the symbol of freedom worldwide. So I guess wanting to be free from socialism is fascist. Fascist seems to be the central word. When progressives say far-right, or alt-right, or neo-Nazi, or Nazi, or even conservative or Republican, they're using all of it as a synonym for fascist. The problem is, fascism is actually an ideology with tenets, and if you don't follow those tenets, you can't be a fascist. For example, this was floating around last year. Is Trump a fascist? 8 experts weigh in. Call him a kleptocrat, an oligarch, a xenophobe, a racist, even an authoritarian, but he doesn't quite fit the definition of a fascist. That's because fascist, like communist, like liberal, like conservative, like libertarian or monarchist, it actually has qualifiers. You actually have to believe in the political theory of fascism to be a fascist. But if everybody's a fascist, just like that one conversation earlier between the pro-vaxxer and the anti-vaxxer, both of them calling each other neo-Nazis, surely we can just call anyone a fascist now, right? Like here, remember this from 2018? Where Anna Sobry was chased around by Brexiteers, shouting traitor and Hitler. Hold on. If Hitler's part of the far right, if Hitler is worshipped by the far right, why would these far-right yellow vesters be chasing after leftists whom they don't like and calling them Hitler? So if they're far right and they're calling her Hitler, but shouldn't that be a compliment? But it's clearly not. Jesus, whatever. Here's a left-leaning politician in the UK being called Hitler. Well, after everything we've fucking seen in this video, surely that is acceptable, right? Nope, not at all. The police got involved. Because you can call literally everybody and everything a Nazi except for people on the left. Which is why I do not trust these people's definition of fascist, or neo-Nazi, or far-right, or alt-right, or conservative, or any of this shit. Because to them, it clearly means people who I don't like. When the UK decides to imprison people who view far-right propaganda online, I do not trust them to use that phrase, far-right, in a fair way. When people want to start banning far-right parties from debates or even running for office, I do not trust them at all. When people want to sic the police, specifically on the far right, I don't trust them. And not because I'm some card-carrying rightist myself. It's because we have seen what these people mean when they say right, when they say conservative, even when they say fascist. Of course, I haven't gotten into what fascism actually is, and that will be a video for another time. I do have quite a lot to say on the actual fascism, and how and why we should oppose it as liberals. But I'll end this video by repeating the words of George Orwell. It will be seen that, as used, the word fascism is almost entirely meaningless. In conversation, of course, it is used even more wildly than in print. I have heard it applied to farmers, shopkeepers, social credit, corporal punishment, fox hunting, bullfighting, the 1922 Committee, the 1941 Committee, Kipling, Gandhi, Chiang Kai-shek, homosexuality, Priestley's broadcasts, youth hostels, astrology, women, dogs, and I don't know what else. Yet underneath all this mess, there does lie a kind of buried meaning. To begin with, it is clear that there are very great differences, some of them easy to point out and not easy to explain away, between the regimes called fascist and those called democratic. Secondly, if fascist means in sympathy with Hitler, some of the accusations I have listed above are obviously very much more justified than others. Thirdly, even the people who recklessly fling the word fascist in every direction attach at any rate an emotional significance to it. By fascist, they mean, roughly speaking, something cruel, unscrupulous, arrogant, obscurantist, anti-liberal, and anti-working class. Except for the relatively small number of fascist sympathizers, almost any English person would accept bully as a synonym for fascist. That is about as near to a definition as this much abused word has come. The answer to the question, what is a fascist, seems to be, at least nowadays, whatever the progressive that you're currently talking to personally doesn't like.